What's going on, everyone? What a rough game. That was that was a tough one to watch for sure. Not really what I hoped, not really what I expected for the first preseason game. I didn't really care that they lost. No Anthony Davis, no Schroeder, no Troy Brown, no Walker. We're missing a lot of guys, so kind of was like, if we lose, we lose. But I thought it would be at least competitive. No defense. I mean, put up 133 points, so clearly no defense. But guys just look very lackadaisical. Guys look like they didn't really want to be out there. I don't know if it's just one of those things where they just are kind of looking at it as like, let's just get to the regular season. I just want this to be done. I want this to be over with. Because, like I said, they looked really good the first 3 games of the season. And they just, the last two, they won the one game, and the last two, they just been rough. Been rough. And I don't know what really equates to that. A lot of people think it's Russ, but that turned out to be fake news. Russ didn't play today, so I mean he did, but like 5 minutes and then he got hurt. So wasn't Russ. Definitely wasn't Russ's problem. So this is clearly a team thing, team issue. And I'm hoping that it's just hey, it's preseason. We just want to get to the regular season. We've got it figured out. That kind of thing. That could very well be what it is. Now Russ, hopefully Russ' injury isn't severe, isn't anything significant. Darvin Ham said that Russ said he should be fine, so I hope that that's the case. I hope that Russ is okay, because as much as people hate him and want to send him home and stuff like that, look, we can't afford that. We're not that good to where we could just send Russell Westbrook home or have him miss ample time, stuff like that. We need him, even if it's in a bench role, whatever. I was excited and curious to see him come off the bench and see how that worked. It's unfortunate we didn't get to see that. I've seen a lot of people, because I did my live stream. For those that don't know, I always do a post-game live stream, and then I do this post-game video breaking it down. But in the live stream, I had a lot of people in that stream that were just saying, oh, isn't it a coincidence? I think Russ faked his injury. Like, for what? Like, what does he gain out of doing that? Like, nothing. Because he went to the bench. Like, what does that prove? If anything, it's going to give him more of a reason to bench him. Especially if the team looks like, if he doesn't play the first 2 games, let's say, and they win those first 2 games, you think they're going to start Russ? It's just silly. He didn't fake no injury. He didn't do anything like that. But he clearly had something happen to him, and hopefully he can kind of get back to health. He seems to be okay, according to Darvin Ham. I mean, we'll know more tomorrow once he gets evaluated and looked at and stuff. But if he's a guy that can come off the bench and is willing to come off the bench, I think that's huge. I think he's a guy that could legit win 6-man. He's a guy that could average a triple-double off the bench. Like, tell me another player in the league that could do that. Not just that, but him being in the bench role, you could kind of get away with a little bit more. Like, you don't have to, like, his mistakes and, just recklessness at times is more easily swallowed, and it's something you don't really have to have concerns with. I mean, obviously you don't want him just being crazy, but you can deal with a couple turnovers, stuff like that, and just him missing shots, things like that, because it's the point. It's the bench unit. You're just trying to stay within the game, stay afloat, and Russ is good enough to get you a lead and or get you back from a deficit. So that's good there. But again, it would have been nice to kind of get a solidified lineup. But I understand preseason, it's time to test it. I'd rather Darvin Ham be testing things now than testing it in the regular season, because we need to have like establishment. But everyone's supposed to be healthy except for Schroeder. Schroeder is, we don't know how long he's going to be out for. We don't know how severe his injury is. The last reports were that the Lakers are concerned that he might miss quite some time. Hopefully that's not the case. We could use him. Lakers it's going to be interesting. Now, again, I don't get too high on the highs. I don't get too low on the lows when it comes to preseason. I'm not worried about this game. It's not anything. We're going to know how we're going to be in just a couple days, right? We have a very tough first 5 games. We play we play the Warriors, the Clippers, we play the Blazers, then we play the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. That is a very tough opening stretch. The only team that you could arguably say like we should beat no problem is the Blazers. I do think the Lakers beat the Warriors, just because, I mean, statistically speaking, when a team gets their reins on rain night, they lose like 90% of the time across all sports. It's not just the NBA. That great example was the Rams getting destroyed by the Bills. So I think the Lakers win that. If they win the Clipper game too, then I could see them starting like 4-1. Because I do think they beat I think they lose to one of Denver or Minnesota, but they beat the other. So if that's the case, they could easily start. If they win, say, their first 3 games, then I think they could start 4-1. If they lose, say, to the Clippers, then I think they're 3-2. But at the end of the day, I want to see, especially early on in these early games, I want to see them competing. If they lose, how did they lose? Things like that. Just same thing with preseason. Like, how do they look? Now, I don't care about, the wins or losses. Obviously, when we get to the regular season, I do, and that's important, and we need the Lakers to win. But preseason is just more so like, what are the positives? This game, there weren't any positives. There really wasn't. As much as people like to knock Russ, the fact that he has still committed, he's willing to come and accept a bench role if need be. He's doing whatever it takes for the team. He's setting picks. He's playing defense. He's fighting over screens. He's running to closeout, stuff like that. Like, that's very promising. I still think if the Lakers end up finding a deal, because Woj reported that the Lakers are going to start looking at deals again once the season starts, I do think if they find a deal that they like, they do trade Russ. I also think if the Lakers end up starting, like let's say they start the season 0-5, I think the Lakers panic and make a deal. But if they're like 3-2, 4-1, I think that'll give the Lakers the ability to stay patient. And I think that's key. They need to stay patient because you're going to have, with this whole Victor thing, they're going to have a lot of potential deals as the season progresses and as time goes on. Because you're going to have a lot of teams that are going to be tanking and just kind of hitting the reset button to go try to get Victor and Henderson. I think those are going to be huge components and factors in this season for not just Lakers, but many teams. I think many teams are going to get deals unlike anything they've ever gotten before. I think they're going to be fleecing teams just because teams want to get fleeced in order to have the best chance. But in general, I think there's not really a ton to take away from this game. There's not really a ton to talk about. I mean, obviously, it's what I was saying about Matt Ryan, Swider, and guys like that. They're not ready. They're not NBA ready. They're not good enough. We had the whole internet telling me to sign Matt Ryan immediately, and I said, like, let's give it the next 2 games. Let's see how he does. I want to see some consistency. I want to see things like that. And he just hasn't been that guy. So again, better off leaving the roster spot open. Trying to work it out with Russ. Hopefully he can be healthy because we do need Russ against the Warriors. I really do think we need him against the Warriors, whether he's starting or coming off the bench. But regardless, even if he does start, I think he spends a majority of his time with the bench unit. I think he spends a majority of his time with, the other role guys. I don't think Darvin Ham's going to play LeBron and Westbrook a ton. I don't think they're going to share the court a lot together. I think a lot of it's going to be he's going to interchange them and kind of sprinkle their minutes. I do think Anthony Davis will play with both. I think Davis plays a little bit with Russ, plays a little bit with LeBron. But I think outside of the starting lineup and maybe randomly here and there throughout a game, I don't think Russ and LeBron play a ton of minutes together. I think Darvin Ham's going to keep them separated. And I think that that's kind of what Darvin Ham wanted to look at this game. And unfortunately, they weren't able to. So I do think Russ starts Tuesday. I think after he starts, I think he'll kind of evaluate it from there and see. I think if like I said, if the Lakers start 0-2 or something like that, I do think they might bring Russ off the bench just to kind of see, just to kind of test it. But regardless, the Lakers need to have a consistent lineup. One of the big problems with Vogel last year is every game, it was a different lineup, a different unit out there. He was changing things. You got to let guys marinate. Even if the ship is sinking, you got to try to see if you can salvage it, right? You got to give it some time to see if you can turn the ship back around, And you don't want to give it too much time, but you do. You need to give it some sample size, things like that. But in general, it was a bad game. It was rough. It was tough. I would have liked a little more, competition. I would have liked a little more energy, a little more drive, a little more hustle. But nonetheless, last preseason game, I think the Lakers are just ready for the season, and I am too. I'm ready for the season as well. But as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? You think this is, a precursor to what's to come? Do you think it's nothing? Do you think it's preseason? What are your thoughts and opinions? However you feel about it. One thing I can say is people can't blame Russ for this one. So, but anyway, nonetheless, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between, let me know your opinions down in the comment section below.